films that set a standard. That's what we're introducing. And the next film in the category would be Bernardo Bertolucci's The Conformist. It comes quite a bit later than Citizen Kane, and it is one of the sterling classics that follows the new wave and basically has a kind of cachet of its own. Now, The Conformist sets a standard, especially in art direction and color and light. It is one of the most beautiful color films ever made, and it is basically also incredibly inventive in the way it sets out its story. The story is set out basically with intercutting and also with the idea of flashbacks, but the flashbacks are not, usually in a flashback you have some kind of dissolve, some kind of way before this film was done. You had a sort of dissolve that actually helped you understand that this was a flashback. But in this film, it goes from scene to scene, and you really have to just stay alert. And you have to understand that you are going either into the past or into another section of the present. And also, it doesn't keep any kind of pattern that helps you with that. You really have to go with the flow of this film. It starts in the middle of its story, and it deals with, the first scene deals with a man that now is going to meet somebody that's taking a trip that he's trying to intercept. And you have him with growing anxiety about trying to catch up with these people. Now, that's the present of the film. But in his mind, he keeps going back to the past, remembering scene after scene, and he basically even is reminded of scenes that are in his imagination. And he's also fixated on a woman that he has fallen in love with, so he puts her even in other scenes of his memory. And so she becomes one of the characters in his memory, though it is not her. Now, this can be very confusing for the viewer unless you actually are tuned into that. The journey that he takes is to Paris, and to meet an old professor of his. He is hired, or he is, he volunteers in the fascist movement to basically go and interview his professor. And as he's going on the trip, he learns that he's expected to have the professor assassinated. This is, of course, a moral dilemma for the hero, and he is filled with more and more anxiety as he goes. He is on his honeymoon on this trip, which makes the film even rarer and stranger. The plot is filled with strange ways that it moves. He arrives in Paris, and he falls in love with another woman, not his wife. And this strange love affair takes place in only a few days. So you are thrown into atmospheres that are extraordinarily beautifully sort of set up. And the movements of the camera, the color, and the art direction is simply sort of more fantastic and more beautiful than almost any other film of any period. This is why the film sets a standard for basically innovation and for extraordinary acting, the extraordinary ways that it sets out its story. It's something that you want to study, and it's one that you want to be very, very clear about. There is a scene toward the end that is when he finally arrives at the climax, and that you want to be very, very aware of all of your senses working. You want to be aware of the extraordinary sound in the scene, the creaking of the trees in the forest, the use of the handheld camera suddenly that makes the scene extremely vivid. You want to notice an assassination scene that is filmed very much like the assassination of Julius Caesar. There are all sorts of extraordinary details in this film that you don't want to miss. The and so I think that it is an exciting film to see for the first time, and yet it may really puzzle you. I think for younger people, for our students, it may be a true challenge. But it's good to challenge you in this particular direction. This is a film that has influenced many films after it, and it's a film that excites filmmakers to want to make better and better films. It's a masterpiece that sets a standard that has not been equaled very much in the present. I hope that you will get something really valuable out of it.